Thursday, August 20th, 10:06 a.m. What's up, everybody? It's Resident Big Twink checking back in on the markets. As we finished up yesterday, we're like, hey, we're looking good into the open to tomorrow. So we're back here on CF, and how are we doing into the open? Yeah, we're not doing so good. So I figured I'd wear my most appropriate professional attire for all of the clients I'm trying to impress with my great stock trading. But in all seriousness, so I guess this is pretty serious. But we just kind of just rocketed upwards. The overall level, we have a hard stop loss now at just into the 130 area. Certainly anything above 130 is like, hey, we need to get out of here. But from a technical perspective, again, as we noted yesterday, there was that break upwards in the morning. And so that was like a noticeable, hey, this is outside of, we expected a big red candle. We commented on the kind of sell-off into the close yesterday, but we did have a break upwards in the morning, which was outside of this kind of technical expectation of, we're definitely at a pivot point right here where this kind of go down then back up to this adaptive moving average. Now we're either going to break one way or the other. It's feeling pretty good. We're going to go down. And then obviously we did not go down. And so overall, again, there was a pre-market bid ask of like 120.50 and like 121, 122. So certainly something if we wanted to like, hey, let's get out of this now, where pre-market could have done. No explicit headlines for the Iran-United States relationship or just overall conflict or disruption to the supply chain. What are we going to do with that supply chain? What's going on there? Didn't really see anything that stuck out. There was some overall market weakness. Let's see where we're at. Still kind of at the lows, or let's see. We'll check back into the SPY, but some weakness into the open overall. But just trying to look for any sort of like cause and effect of the actual CF or energy. Didn't see anything super like, hey, this is why we're rocketing it up so much. So no real reason or even like attempt at an explanation, but we certainly made a strong move against our favor. As always, we're back in managing a losing trade, which is what we really want to do over here in stock trading land. Obviously not, but it is what it is. It's almost like that's the form of language still, and my rights are violated, and I wake up every day trying to do a something, and then I do a something, and then it goes the wrong way, and then you're just like, yeah, you can't live a life in a country with no laws. And so overall, not much to say on the actual movement. Strong movement up. Anything over 130, hard stop losses at like 130.60 and 131.50, something to those effects or those levels. Kind of just hoping for a little sell-off. We did so like just another decision point. Just on the initial open, I snap sold 10 more shares. We had 40 going into the close yesterday at like 123. So from an actual technical level, just the overall trading pattern with the spread on this stock spending, like I said, literally anywhere from like 30 cents throughout the day, and then at the actual open, like up to like $1.50, $2. So I'm just thinking, hey, a bid ask of 120.50 to up to like 123. If we get any sort of fill on the sell side, this is just kind of the spread's going to tighten to the downside. Obviously didn't happen. We got our 123 fill, and now we're rocketing up to 129. Super awesome stuff. But that's just what happened, and so that's our management. Again, just with the overall portfolio size, our basically no income, and just sitting over here waiting to get extorted from the IRS, because once again, we have all of this freedom here in the great land of the United States of America, where your local governor stands up for the small guy. Brad doesn't count to the whole world. But like into the overall dollar figures, like I said, or I don't know if I said this recently, but like $500 is certainly like, oh wow, we don't like this. $1,000, which is where we were at with our losses on Snowflake and SanDisk earlier this year. Those are like the big losses where it's like, hey, $500, we definitely don't want to be taking that much amount of dollar figures, but you always have to plan for like double that. And so luckily we hit that twice. Still up overall. Again, if we were to close this right now, because we had that ATAI closeout, so we're still sitting up around like $1,300. Just and again our immediate trading log decisions. But we've been doing this now again since like October of last year. So I guess that's a good little talking point for today, is just like the overall headspace. where it's like you have to manage money. If you have a bank account, you're in this liquid environment where you're making a decision. You put your dollar bills somewhere or your digits on a screen somewhere. But to even be like a full-time trader or to manage money in a very active sense or any sort of active sense, is it worth the headspace, right? Again, we're not trading meaningfully over here, but it's like in addition to, hey, you want to make a profit, when you're actually executing profitable trades, that's always going to be, exciting, fulfilling, right? It's literally, you have access to liquidity. Hey, I click a button. Hey, 5 minutes later, 5 hours later, 5 days later, I have X amount of dollars more. Feels good. Didn't have to run a business. It's just sitting there right in your account. But still the overall headspace where it's like, your work-life balance, 6-7. Do you want to have a 9 to 5 or a 6-7 hour job? I don't even know why I just did that reference right there. I just did the hand motions. So, but the point being is like, okay, even if you're executing profitable trades and you're making 50 grand a year, like extra, or just like from your direct decisions, that'd be a pretty good little something. But it's just like if you're developing your career as another, worth your headspace, your worth life balance to just, get a $50,000 raise at your job or something. And so the real headspace of like, hey, even if I'm making profitable trades, it still has to be profitable at a level where it's like sustains a quality of life that you couldn't replace or kind of establish with just, again, differentiating your skill set. Right, you're a person, you're working memory, you can run around and learn stuff, you can develop property. Truly, I would say developing property is the single greatest way of building wealth just in totality. I would say the time frame to develop something where you could really take it to market. Again, the overall business market, as we've said, or business model, where it's like, hey, you can prototype something, hey, you can get to proof of concept very, very quickly. But if you're saying, hey, I'm Johnny, and I'm going to start developing a skill set, and I want to have something, like a intellectual property, an actual physical property, I think 2 to 5 years is like a good expectation time frame of actually building something. Hey, I have a portfolio of intellectual property. Hey, I have some sort of physical development, an actual prototype with a patent or something. I don't know. It's kind of loose time frames, but in terms of generating real value, where it's like, okay, trading or having a job, you're not like creating something. So it's directly into what entrepreneurship is, or entrepreneurship is. Again, random French word. What's up with that word? But point being is of trading, getting a job, creating value in terms of developing property, I think is the biggest wealth development, where it's like, hey, if you want to see a change in your financial life from today and then into the next 5 to 10 years, it's like, again, I don't know, YouTube channel, owning a restaurant, owning a business, owning this, owning that, but developing something towards ownership is really, again, how you generate wealth, where it's like people like owning a house. It's like, again, I don't see that type of conversation being relevant. But that was just, again, talking point that just kind of popped to mind is the headspace of, hey, sitting down and actively trading. Are you generating a return that's worthwhile? Just something that popped into our heads. Again, we don't have constitutional rights, so pretty much our entire day, every day is a waste, which is genuinely an interesting kind of thing, because like you just do anything. Like I was saying yesterday, you just want to do something. And so like even cleaning out this storage locket, overall total dollar figures of stuff that I put in there, bought retail, less than $10,000. Frankly, couldn't care. But it's just like, what do you do with your day? It's like, okay, well now here it is what it is. I'm cleaning out this storage locker. Let's market some stuff. Let's do this. Let's do that. It's just an activity. It's a project to do. And so when you're in this headspace of like everything's a waste, like I'm not doing anything I want to be doing, it's just like everything has the same type of level of genuine enjoyment. It's just like, okay, if I get a good deal on Facebook Marketplace, you feel something, right? I'm trying to recuperate 40 to 60% of the value of stuff I bought like 3 years ago because of profound crime, but I really locked in this deal, right? It's just like, sweet. But you just kind of get used to it and make the best of it, I guess. And so, yeah, headspace of, again, am I making a total amount of dollar figures in return for the time I'm spending on the market also has to make sense, because you will have, again, any sort of profitable or positive return. You're going to feel good, but then it just becomes a job like anything else. And so we're getting a little break. Hopefully we get a bigger break down here, but we do have hard stop losses. Again, anything into the 130 range. Nothing really else popping up in the markets. Again, some light economic data, some Fed's fund study out of Philadelphia. I don't know, Pats or Genos? What sub you guys like? I don't know. These kind of trivial economic datas. It's just like no comment, no opinion, no nothing. And so just over here, CF hoping to catch a break, hard stop losses, and we'll check in later. Don't forget to sign up for our great stock trading portfolio with Brad over here, our super serious presentation, and our great outfit for today. So we'll check in later. Thursday, August 20th, 8:40 p.m. What's up, everybody? Checking back in after the close of the market. Not too much to say today. Just a little commentary on our wonderful management. Again, we were up about $60 going into yesterday's close, and then we opened up with a nice, thick explosion upwards. And so that is not what we were looking for. Our stop losses were on throughout the day. After we checked in, we did have some retracement down to about the 124, back up to the 127, and then kind of just channeled to the lower end, but certainly didn't sell back off. Around like 1:45 p.m. or 12:45 p.m., there was some little news icon that popped up and said, ongoing tensions between Iran and the United States. We're seeing some price reflection or appreciation reflected in the fertilizer sector or the fertilizer stocks. And so, again, just when we opened up this morning, didn't really see too many headlines, but looks like we're on the wrong way of the whipsaw, the roller coaster today. And so we had the hard stop losses up into the 130 area. Like I said, I added the 10 shares pretty much because of the spread opening up and thought we were going to close to the downside. Definitely did not close to the downside. And so going into the close, and the ad on that was like 123, as we said. And then going into the close today, I covered 15 shares just to lower some exposure. Not feeling good about this, to be honest. But this is what we're looking like technically on the daily. Not a super strong candle, but again, this isn't like trading reflective of some sort of like volume and pattern throughout the day. It's just whatever the headline is, we have some sort of sharp movement up or down, and then kind of just sideways for the rest of the day. And so, again, I always think the headlines are a little overblown, or you're a little more aggressive sounding publicly, and there's always kind of like talkings or rumblings behind the scenes. Obviously, we had clear appreciation in the stock price today. And so not much more to say past that, hoping it goes down a little bit, but it's just, if we have another headline one way or the other, that's the way the price is going to go. And so overall, our thesis, I would just say at this point, is kind of wrong in the sense of, hey, this conflict from the initiation till now, we would see less sensitivity in this sector or security specifically. And I'm thinking we're seeing about the same. And so, like I said, when we closed again, we've traded this one now about four different times. But there was a one day where there was definitely headlines of, hey, bombings, but this was down. And so we closed out pretty quick. And then we re-entered, what felt kind of like a decent entry, and then we were in the profits into yesterday, and then the headlines today, or whatever the discussion was today, obviously caused a stronger reaction. So I would just say same type of sensitivity, and we were just kind of wrong on that type of prospectus. Throughout the rest of the market, no real conviction on literally anything, not really watching anything, certainly not looking for any trades. Nothing super interesting on the conversations today. Kelly Evans, I did hear something about like, hey, maybe college is all fraudulent, or what's this, should we have our standardized testings, or now, when we get it to college, something about freshmen having just pass or fail gradings, as opposed to like the A to F, kind of your standard American grading system. Again, the entirety of academia is fraudulent. The entirety of the entire cast of CNBC is fraudulent. Everybody's lying, cheating, and stealing. Nobody feels responsibility for their actions. And so, yes, college is completely fraudulent. Are we going to have the SAT, the ACT, A through F letter grades, pass or fail grades? It's just like you guys have to stop lying about all of science and all of research and all of logic and all of language first before any of that stuff even remotely matters. Because again, the restriction of the dissemination of the form of logic restricts, again, personal realization. People running around the world like, oh, this is how this works. And then they can apply that knowledge in a variety, in a proliferation of ways that I couldn't see, that no one individual can see. Again, the application of knowledge is what is, again, endlessly differentiable, endlessly applicable, infinite uniqueness. We've solved the conceptual basis of mathematics for sure, but the application of knowledge doesn't stop. But should we have letter grades? Should we have pass or fail? Should we have standardized testings? We should just stop lying, cheating, and stealing at literally every step of the way before we can make any meaningful progress anywhere. But again, we're right back to there are no adults in the room, no one knows how to behave, and nobody cares. But for C to CF, or just for overall talking points, I didn't have anything written down, and again, just some school districts, something about, again, just letter grades, college freshmen not having the reading level they need, and it's just like the whole school system's completely fraudulent. Nothing else throughout the conversation of the day really caught my ear, didn't really watch much, so just checking in on some things. Yesterday we had a big appreciation in Moderna, so let's see what happened today. Again, kind of a strong sell-off, but again, looking right at the open, again, you have one candle where you kind of sell down, and then kind of just channel, again, and then another drop after, again, can't see the time, but that's got to be like 11 or noon. So again, you kind of have to, again, change the most, I don't want to say the highest conviction, but just the most profitable, seemingly meaningful trades to have a decent entry and exits are, again, this change of sentiment of one day. Right? Hey, we short Moderna, again, into the aftermarket strength. Again, back when we were trading SanDisk personally, again, no new opinion over there. We were at 1600 there. But there was one day specifically where it was trading really hard into the close. So we closed out our position looking to re-enter in the morning. And by the morning, we had already sold off pretty hard. And so again, that change of the day, again, the whole market kind of trades with the same sentiment, but it has pretty much a hard reset from one day to the next. And so that's just where, again, you have to go against the grain and like short something that has a lot of momentum, and you're not going to feel good as if the momentum continues. But again, huge appreciation certainly in the recent history of Moderna. If you were to take like, again, a short position, we're just keep saying and reiterating whatever the opposite of the short-term extreme momentum gives you your best entries, long or short. And so that's what we would have been thinking here. But again, we're not trading it. And then today, just intraday wouldn't really have been a good entry or exit at any point for like, hey, have a lot of volatility, but like we were saying, big company, real kind of news. Is this going to be like a huge retracement opportunity, a extreme continuation? I personally expected it to kind of channel, but no real conviction. Certainly not something that I would be trading. But again, with a volatility like this and a big name, it's going to pop up on everybody's radar. So just a little bit of commentary there, not much insight. And then the other one I wanted to check back in on is SpaceX. And so this one would have been, I was debating it, again, right around the $100 level. If we would have broke down below the 100, more so, again, just the overall hype. Again, the overall price to earnings to me doesn't really matter. To me, they seem inflated. I don't want to say inflated, but they just seem like, why is 20 to 40 P to E forward-looking earnings ratio? Is like, why is that a thing? And just, again, go, Industrial Revolution, we're all the greatest. It just feels like some ancillary sociological factor of that. But regardless, it's just people are, again, resistant to rapid change. And so if it's at 40 times price to earnings, it doesn't really matter. But if it goes from 40 price to earnings to like 5 price to earnings, it's like, that's a big change. So again, just that any volatility, introduces the potential to reverse that volatility. And so point being is it just huge valuation when it IPOs, a lot of hype, but again, it's just the overall relative change. So we go from the, peak of 225, and then just the psychological whole number of $100. It was like, hey, maybe this might be worth it for like a swing term trade. So didn't take it. It would have had to have been broken below 100, anything to like the 100 to 80 level. It's kind of what I was thinking of, maybe taking, again, a super small position. All of these positions are small, but just, again, documenting points of decision. And so we did not end up doing that, but wanted to check back in over here because, again, just commenting on, even though it was a hugely expensive IPO, just the overall relative change in price action is kind of gives you your best entries and exits. And so that's really it. I guess we'll pop on over to QQQI. Again, we're getting ready to, I think the 21st. So I think holding this into this weekend will give us the dividend. We're still right around our entry, just above it. Entry 53.85, currently 54.05. And so this is not something I'm trying to sell out if it goes below our entry price. Any sort of shakeout, depreciation, correction, any depreciation word below our entry we will be adding here. Certainly our free cash. And if it were to have a big retracement for any short amount of time, we might sell a little of the bonds, not a bunch, but maybe $10,000, $20,000 and put it back on these income funds. But that's just what we're doing. Nothing super insightful, not a lot of economic talking points. Did want to point out, I did say something about, again, your overall headspace where it's like, hey, even if you're executing profitable trades, is the overall headspace you're in and time you're spending worth it for the dollar figure you're receiving? And then we said, again, as opposed to like trying to get a $50,000 raise at your job. But again, I can't emphasize enough, I have no sympathy, I have no respect for, again, wanting total compensation, your personal paycheck to increase without providing value anywhere. That is the true race to the bottom that exists economically. It's just people wanting more on a personal level, literally the historical evolution of gluttony without providing any real value. So again, that was just it was a comment on the headspace where it's like your trading profitability and overall life quality has to be worth it. But that's not to say like I look kindly at anybody just I don't want to say job hopping, like you have to be respectful of one company, but just this overall, hey, I watched a bunch of people go to high school and cheat a bunch of shit. I watched a bunch of people go to college and cheat through their schooling. And now they're just, bouncing around because they just want more. True psychological gluttony. And they're not really providing value or new novelty or developing property or limiting inefficiency or anything that's actually positive for an economy. And so I definitely wanted to explicitly articulate that, as we say a bunch of different times. Can't take an opportunity away of criticizing the actual lazy people. Again, I don't have constitutional rights. I have no expectation that will ever change in my lifetime. One other thing, did close out a Gemmy, just put a stop loss at our entry, so we were out right around 407 was where the stop loss was at. I'm assuming it executed it right around there. If not exactly there, but finished up again slightly higher than our entry, but had some positive news, certainly some appreciation in Bitcoin, going up to about 72,000 currently before the making of this video. And so I expect, again, no hard conviction, but we got a little pop, any sort of fading or without continued appreciation immediately in the crypto space. To me, this will go back down to the low threes minimum. And so we'll look to a reload there, again, a little $500 position. But when we have these low price per share entries, and then you get some sort of, if we have 150 shares, right, then it appreciates 100%, and then we keep that 75 shares. Again, we've talked about that at the very beginning of these videos. Can't really manage a portfolio when you don't have constitutional rights. Classic case of, again, no one respects the law whatsoever. But that's all we have for today. Nothing more that insightful economically. So we'll check in later. Friday, August 21st, 10:31 a.m. What's up, everybody? Checking back in. Our cheeks are getting clapped as expected. Sitting right around this 130 level. We have hard stop losses. Again, I think just in the lower 130s, like 131.50 and 132.50. Just having about $1 over. The spread on this stock's been pretty substantial, certainly into the open, just throughout the different days, but giving about $1.50 above this 130 level, we're almost certainly going to get smacked out. We are not looking good. So we can see we covered the 15 shares going into yesterday, just kind of hoping and praying maybe there'll be a big turnaround, but the overall geopolitical climate doesn't seem super strong. Could change over the weekend, but this is not something we're going to be holding over the weekend. So just kind of hoping for a little bit of retracement throughout the day, 10:31, so we're getting to certainly out of what I would consider the open trade time frame. And then the overall trading pattern of this stock, as we commented in the previous clips, kind of a pretty strong move at the open, and then just kind of a channel throughout the day, pretty much exclusively, in my opinion, moving on these different news headlines of the Middle East and the United States. Our kind of thesis that we've now determined or asserted has been wrong, as we'd have less sensitivity. So certainly into the 130 to the 140 level, that's as the highest appreciation back in March, when the interaction, the conflicts first kicked off. And so those were our hard stop losses are at, again, like 132.45 and then 131 as well. So just kind of hoping and praying for a little bit of retracement, not expecting much, and that's pretty much where we're at over here. Looking like a big old goofball, said getting our cheeks clapped over at CF, closing out our Gemmy. The strength in crypto has continued into this morning, into today. I think I saw Bitcoin at like 78,000, getting close to 80,000. And so we had a stop loss again right at our entry at 407 yesterday. We get clapped out over there. Our cheeks are just raw, and then we open back up pretty strong. And so that's pretty exciting. Again, trader Elmer Fudd over here. Pretty exciting stuff, as we had our nice clown costume on yesterday. So same type of doing absolute garbage and just steady taking L's. Again, we'll definitely hold this income fund. If it goes below our entry price, we'll add more over here. That's pretty much what we got going on. I did see one talking point. Our great Supreme Leader, Donald, who again does not respect Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8, the First Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, or again just basic human decency in any way, shape, or form. Again, I continue to not have constitutional rights. I continue to wake up every day and give it the good American try, and there's just nobody that cares about anything. It's absolutely, literally impossible. I can literally show you a clip from Eric Weinstein saying it's impossible. Again, directly stealing me and thinking of me, and I haven't seen that guy in a while. But again, when the entire business world, the entire academic world, the entire law enforcement world is well aware of your work, and hey guys, right now, it's like you can't live a life at all. But we wake up, we give it the good old American try, and it doesn't work. But that is what we're doing. Oh, the talking point is our great Supreme Leader Donald has decided to, hey, our inflation is going up because, maybe we started a war. Who knows? Maybe that's a big impact factor. Probably not. But we're going to remedy the situation with lowering the prices of beef. And so our great Supreme Leader, one of our correspondents to the great Supreme Leader Donald, Eamon Javers over at CNBC, was trying to decipher how our great leader is going to lower the beef prices, because we all need our dose of meat. And I have it figured out. I mean, this is a very clear one. Again, we talk about save big money at Menards. We talk about Big Sandy's Superstore. And who has the meats? Arby's has the meats. And so it's definitely going to be a deal with Arby's because they have the meats. And so that's definitely Eamon. If you're over there watching, stealing property, committing fraud, racketeering, conspiracy, congratulating your other hardworking coworkers on another long week of hard work. Because Americans, all they do is work hard. They definitely don't compete over everything and just clamor over each other like a box of hamsters. That never happens. Everyone's just out there helping their neighbor, respecting the law, and contributing to their community. But again, it's time for the weekend. Again, another long week of fraud, racketeering, conspiracy. I was going to say something about Eamon Javers. Oh, yeah, we have the meats. Arby's is where the Donald, our Supreme Leader, that's how he's going to lower the prices. And we all need a big dose of meat on this weekend. And so that's really all I had for today. Right now, again, just kind of holding on for dear life, hoping for some sort of retracement. I was going to sing a reference song, but I think Aerosmith, like Living on a Prayer, is one of those ones that would get you copyright striked. You're not allowed to, sing a verse here in the land of the free, home of the brave. I love our Supreme Leader, Donald. Obviously, I do not have constitutional rights. I am laughing, but I am being held against my will. My property is being restricted. I cannot live a life. I cannot afford food. I cannot afford health care. I cannot live any quality of life. At all, period, zero, no one cares. This is the American way of life. Lie, cheat, and steal, and say, it's time for another weekend. I wonder how Scoot's doing this weekend. We're doing good on the tour. Just amazing. Golf tournament, Thursday to Sunday every week. And they make millions of dollars every week. And I have never been paid a livable wage ever. But again, that's on par for Columbus, Ohio. We have Jack Nicholson. We have again Jim Tressel. After a long, long life of teaching great leaders of the community like Maurice Claret to contribute to Columbus, Ohio, after a long career of teaching grown men, I guess, to run around chasing balls all day. Just more sports, more games. Well, he's up there for Lieutenant Governor Tressel. Again, he just has a long track record of teaching the young men of this community, such as Maurice Claret, to always, again, respect other people's belongings, definitely not take them at gunpoint, all of the basics. But that's kind of like the full life cycle here in Columbus. We go play sports, then we commit robberies, and then we get, we can be a guiding light to the youth of today and say, I went down this dark path and you can go the other way. But regardless, nobody is more qualified to be a lieutenant governor than somebody who's spent their entire life playing games all day. It's just really on par for the maturity and development of the adults in our leadership structure here in Columbus, Ohio. Really inspiring stuff. Again, not the guy that sits down and develops property all day and he literally, as school starts back up, again, what is energy, everybody? Movement potential. I don't know what we're doing in math class, physics class, any sort of class, again, because all of logic, right? Every time you use language, that's logic. And we're solving the entire structure, which we've already solved 10 years ago. So we're at quite the conundrum. I just don't know what's going on. Nobody cares. So that's all I have for right now on economics. Might pop on later. Probably will for, again, the end of the day on Friday, last day of the week. Going to be looking to close out this position, barring some unforeseen selling pressure or more specifically, some sort of headline. Because with the overall headline and current cycle, it's not something I want to hold over the weekend. But as you can see, we pretty much do the exact opposite right thing at the wrong time, precisely. So that's really what we wanted to do over here. Not really. But this turnaround from this closing to the 119 to into yesterday's open was just... This is the whipsaw, the roller coaster our great Supreme Leader has taken us on, and I will always be at the beck and call of our great Supreme Leader, Donald. So, still don't have constitutional rights, and we will check in later. Friday, August 22nd, 12:21 p.m. What's up, everybody? Chief Twink checking back in here. We called it quits on CF. So, again, as expected, or more than expected, we kind of channeled after the initial pop in the morning, and then once it made this kind of strong move above 130, market order close. It was just like, hey, how much higher are we going to go? I don't know, but over the 130 level, that's kind of where technically and overall economically or geopolitically, that's where we're calling it quits. So clock in a solid, I think, a minus 450 to 480, something to that effect, but mid to upper fours. So erased a good chunk of our profit over here on CF. We did have, up until this point, we had a profit of a little over 700, and now it's down to like not 700. But again, I would pull up the monitor tab. It just has the full account number, and I just don't see any need to do that. It's right there in like the 470. We'll just call it that. But regardless, technically, geopolitically, certainly we're not going to hold this over the weekend. If we have an announcement to our favor, we're going to feel a little silly on Monday, but this was a position we definitely needed to cut. And so, again, nothing really much to say past that. Again, just another one of these kind of very discrete movements of, hey, we get a good headline, meaning resolution to the war. We would have about a $10 per share or more break to the downside, and we got the opposite. And where we were most fundamentally wrong in our self-assessment is the same or more sensitivity to the stimulus from the Iran-United States conflict. And so, didn't really watch anything else. Again, it's only 12:30, but it is Friday. Like I said, all of our hard-working colleagues, I'm going to hop off the markets, but no open positions. Gemmy came down a little bit, but I did see it as a good selling point, again, with the stimulus of the cryptocurrency appreciation yesterday. That's why we put a stop loss in at our entry price. And then we had further continuation today, and now we're having some sell-off. And so out pretty much flat we're with what we had here. Again, really nothing else to comment on. Going to get this dividend for the QQQI over the weekend. Joby's still kind of going flat, which is not exciting. I can't take Liz Young on our helicopter rides. How sad. But again, all of the hardworking Americans that really deserve those paychecks, really deserve those weekend off. Yeah, you guys really earned it. Again, derived all of science, still sitting on the internet, still supposed to be your constitutional right. Obviously, the laws are as real as Santa Claus. Nice. But yeah, I got nothing else. So that is it for me for this week on economics, and we will check in next time.